the strong and free. Becoming more of you with me. And I've been coming smaller, I've been just growing later. Hard to hard.
Hello, hello. Good evening, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Welcome in, everybody. I am so excited to have you all, and we got a ton of people joining in. Will you help me with the chat, babe, and make sure you let everybody in?
I sure will.
But welcome in, everybody. I am so happy you are here. We are going to have a great evening. We have a ton of stuff in the works for you. Today is Thursday, so happy Thursday. I want to hear from everybody on the chat. Just drop a line, just say hi. Let me know where you're calling from. Let me know your favorite part of your day so far. We got some exciting segments for you, and I am so excited about the keynote presentation. We'll get into it a little bit more on what all is in store for you today. It is unfortunate that I don't have one of our good buddies, Big Tex. He had a family wedding that he had to be at, and he told me last week, and I was so bummed out. This is the very first event that of all the events we've had, that he's not present, and we'll miss him dearly, but he'll join us again next month, so he's not going anywhere. But I want to bring in my beautiful bride. Geraldine's on the line. She's going to be hosting with me. So at least you guys will have something beautiful to look at.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited that you're all here. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being part of our Dealmaker DFW family. As Felipe said, we don't have Big Tex with us, but we're still bringing the energy. I don't know if I can do a good job as Big Tex, but I'll try my best.
Yeah, I definitely won't have the energy, so Geraldine will have that covered. But man, let's not waste any time. As I promised, we're gonna be out by 8 because we respect and we value your time. And I know everybody's busy. You're taking time away from your family, so we want to make it the most valuable as possible. So without further ado, once again, we are very glad you are here. Tonight's going to be packed with value, connection, and opportunity. You made the right call showing up, and please keep showing up. If you are getting value out of this, let me know, because if you are not, there's no point in doing this. We really don't get anything out of it. It's for you guys. That's why we put this together. So if this is valuable, please let me know. Drop it in the chat if you are liking this. But if you want to see any changes, any suggestions of how we can make this better, guys, we are all ears. I have thick skin. You can try to hurt my feelings. I don't think you'll succeed. So, but let me know how we can make this better. Okay, this is for you, and we want to bring the most value we can. Make sure you invite your friends. This is completely free. There's no sales pitch, as you know. This is so we can really pass on what we have learned in this industry, and also bring in people that have decades of experience that, can save you a lot of time. And you can bring your questions. I mean, that's a whole reason why we do this. Okay. So please stay engaged as much as you can. Be active on the chat. If you have any questions, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So bring any questions you want. There's no such thing as a silly question. So if you have a question, there's a good chance somebody else also has it. So make sure you ask and bring tough questions as well. The gentleman we'll have on tonight is phenomenal. He's got a ton of experience in his field. So challenge him. If there's a tough questions out there, let him know. Okay. Couple house rules as always. Always be respectful. be supportive of all the members. Use the Q&A feature for questions during presentations. No selling from the stage. Everybody knows that. We're going to have our sponsors come on here in a little bit. So please utilize them as much as you can, support them. We couldn't do our live events without their support. So we always try, and we don't just bring anybody. We don't just bring a checkbook for our sponsors. So make sure you support them. They are there. They are legitimate. They can help you in your business. So make sure you check it out, and I'll show you exactly how you can see who our sponsors are. Okay. Tonight's challenge, as always, 2 things. Meet one new person tonight. We will do a breakout session tonight. It is going to happen. I've been teasing everybody that we're going to do a breakout, and we're going to do it, and I'll go over the rules. But that is your chance to meet somebody new, find out what they do, let them know what you do, and see if there's an opportunity there to do some business, hopefully. Also, you know, one of the challenges is make sure you learn one new thing and add it to your tool. Even if it's not specifically for you, you need to know this stuff. If it's for a family member, for a client, or a friend, this is important stuff. Okay, so keep your eyes open. Don't shut down if you think, oh, this doesn't relate to me directly, because it does some way or another. Okay, our first book this evening, myself, my name is Felipe Suarez. If you haven't met me, if I haven't had the pleasure, and also have my beautiful wife here of how many years now?
We're going on 11 years married and 14 together. So yeah, going strong.
There you go. And if you can make a marriage work, you can make a business work. That's a success template right there. All right. I stole that one from our pastor. All right. So everybody on the call, if you haven't taken advantage of this, make sure you scan the QR code at the end of this. Actually, we'll do it right now, babe. If you would, just copy and paste that link so they can access the show notes and the slideshow, so you can follow along with us. And then all the links, all the codes will all be on this slideshow presentation. But if this is your first time here, this is our gift to you. This is a nationwide group discount with Lowe's. You don't have to do anything else but use that code at your checkout, and you can get up to 25% off your purchase. This is a nationwide group discount that we have with them, so make sure you take advantage of that. Okay, there is 2 QR codes here. One is actually a presentation of the account manager that hands our account, and he explains to you exactly how you can use it. So take advantage of that and make sure you save it. Okay. I want to thank our sponsors once again. We'll give them a shout out here in a second. If you are a sponsor, and generally is going to help me, please raise your hand on the chat, and we're going to bring you in here in a second, and we're going to have you introduce yourself. Let the audience know what you do, how you can help them, how they can get in touch with you, and we'll go from there. One thing real quick, the Dealmaker Corner is active. If you go to our website, dealmakerdfw.com, you can go under resources, and there's going to be a section that says Dealmaker Corner. It's super easy to use. There's even no registration. You can go in here, and this is our virtual bulletin board. So if you have any deals, if you're looking for any specific type of deals or whatever you're looking for, if you have a service, if you're looking for a vendor or a service provider, make sure you log in here and you let them know, because we'll share with everybody. We share with all of our list. So make sure you utilize that. It's a great tool. Okay. So Dealmaker Corner, we only open this up on the day of our events, and then we close it on a Sunday. So it stays up for a little bit. So make sure you are using Dealmaker Corner. Another great thing is our Facebook group. We have over 36,000 members, which is unbelievable. And this is a very active group. It's completely free to join. Um, Actually, I lied, not 36. We're about to cross 35,000 members. Okay. So make sure you take advantage of that. It's very interactive. It's very active. We get a lot of deals posted in here, guys. So make sure you join, and hopefully you can find your next deal here. But it's mainly off market. It's a lot of wholesale deals. So check that out once you can. Okay. Tonight's agenda. We have our welcome. We have a couple of exciting segments for you. We're going to have our sponsors come on here shortly, and then we're going to have our market pulse segment. We're going to tell you what is going on in the economy that we are seeing, any trends, anything that is important or relevant to your business. We are then going to have our Kingdom X segment, which is a powerful biblical business principle. It's only a 5-minute bite of something that you can implement right away or something you can reflect on. Very powerful. And then we are going to have our keynote speaker. We have Mr. Chris Peterson from WealthBuilders1031. He is an attorney and got decades of experience in 1031 exchanges. He's very advanced, and he's going to be covering everything that you need to know. And I'll get a little bit more into his bio and what we are going to cover here in a little bit. And then, as always, we're going to have some prizes giveaway for you at the end of the call. We are giving away some Amazon gift cards. So you got to be present to win. So make sure you stay until the end so you can get some cool prizes. Okay? So without further ado, let's get going. And one more thing on our Dealmaker DFW website. We built this in real time. There's tons of resources for you to use. It's completely free. We have some real market data that you can take advantage of. We have everything in one place. We have any local or nationwide news that's relevant to your business that you can browse right through there. We have live market data or what the prime rate is, what the Fed rate is. So you can see it all in one page. We have our DFW market snapshot on what the average days on market is, what the price per square footage. This is real data, guys. It changes every day, but you can go in one single place and you can get all this access here. It's all readily available for you. And tons of different stuff on the private markets and the public markets, some economy dashboards, why we like Texas, why we like DFW. We have tons of stuff in there, okay? So make sure you check that out. And as always, these are 3 organizations, nonprofits that we support. 1% of all of our revenue, all of our top line, 1% gets donated to each of these organizations every month. So just know that there is a heart behind what we do, and this is how we give back as much as we can. So whenever you support us, know a fraction of that proceed is going to some great causes. Okay, couple of days we have coming up. May 5th, we'll have a raw deal drop that I'll kind of get into it and let you know what it is. May 21st, we're going to have our virtual third Thursday of every month. And I will make the announcement of who this gentleman is here for next month's call. And June 4, we're going to have an in-person back at the Augustos, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that event as well. But make sure you save the date, okay? So let's get started with our sponsors. If you are a sponsor here, please raise your hand, and we're going to get started. And then Carolyn's going to help me.
Diane Fitz and Jessica LaFleur
Okay, beautiful.
have their hands raised.
Okay.
Aaron
I'll give everybody else a chance if they are logging on. And in the meantime, let me see who I have here. I don't think Steve is going to be one. Steve Hamilton, he joined as a sponsor a couple of months ago. He has an unbelievable CPA practice. He specializes working with real estate investors. This gentleman, man, he supports the deal maker community so much. He sponsors all the big events annually. So check him out at hamiltontax.com. If you're looking for an accountant, if you're looking for tax advice, if you need help with anything, reach out to him. He's a wealth of information. Whenever we have our big panels, he's always on it, and he delivers killer tips and information that's important to you. Okay. All right. So let's see who else is up. Let's get started with Diane with Goosehead Insurance.
I'm going to unmute her.
Here.
Okay.
You do me a favor, babe, and unmute Diane.
Yeah.
And we'll bring her on. I might be able to do it here on my end. I see it.
Yeah, I'm not able to click on it. Sorry. Did you get it? Yeah, you got it, babe. Good job, babe.
Diane, if you are there, let us know. Or if you're not in a position that you can talk, we'll kind of skip you and then we'll get back to you once you can get to your mic. Okay? Give you a couple of seconds, but then if not, and every other sponsor that's on deck, make sure you are in a good position that you can unmute yourself once we get you on the floor. So we'll come back to
There she is.
Diane.
There she is.
There she is. Oh, I am so sorry. That was my fault. Let me do this again. I might be a little behind because I have 1,000 screens connected to our satellite Wi-Fi. There you go.
It's okay. I could not figure out how to do it. So that was user
You did?
error.
Okay, so it's not on me, it's on you.
No, it was definitely me.
But thank you so much. It's so good to see you. You look so good.
Thank you.
So yeah, come on over. Tell us a little bit of Goosehead and what you guys do and your amazing brother that I love to death. So the floor is all yours.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I own my agency with my brother, Tommy Gartside. We've had it now just a little over 10 years. So we just had our renewal, which is exciting. But we do all personal lines insurance. So home, auto, recreational vehicles, rental properties, vacant properties, everything personal lines, boats, ATVs, side-by-sides, all of the things. But our biggest piece is that we're a broker. So we shop the market for you. We have a lot of companies, a lot of options, and we absolutely just really focus on educating the client on what they have and maybe what they're missing. We always like to review their current insurance as well and compare it to maybe a better option, or maybe if we can't find a better price, educating them on what's going on with their current policies. So we're not all about winning the deal. We want to just make sure people are properly insured. And I mean, that's really us. That's what we thrive to do. So, yeah.
All right, beautiful. And I have your quote that will go directly to you, correct? The QR code there. So if you need any quotes, you want to talk with the team, make sure you scan that and they'll get you on the right track.
Yeah, I wonder that one might take you to Tommy, which is great. It all goes into the same bucket. We're a team equally.
I would not talk with Tommy, guys. Just between you and I would go directly to Diane. But that's just a
Oh.
tip. Okay, that's a pro tip.
No, Tommy's great. He's a little bit more sass, like got a little bit more sass in how he talks. A little bit more. So-
That's
but
awesome.
yes, but
Wow.
that QR code does work. I believe, yeah, it has like a start quote thing. And I will say another thing is Goose had just partnered with a company called King. And I can share that link on here. I literally just set it up, but most people don't know what their current coverage is or their current anything is, like with their current policies.
Yeah.
In this link I have now, all you do is literally log in. Like that's it. You just log in or hit forget password. And I protectively, of course, it's not sold to anybody. Your information isn't sold, but I literally can pull all of your current policies and review your coverage with you. And it literally got created today. So I'll share
Good.
that with you guys.
Oh, that's awesome. That's exciting. Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
And we'll get it out to everybody via email as well. Make sure everybody
Okay,
has
yeah.
it.
I'm going to
But
copy
awesome.
it. Do I just share it in the
Yeah, you
chat?
can put it in the chat and then I'll make sure that we save it and we'll send it out via email. But thank you so
Okay.
much, Diane. Glad to
Okay,
have
thank you
here.
guys.
Thank you,
Right.
Diane. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next up we have, let's see here.
We have Brandon. Are you like gonna wait for their presentation on the screen to bring them up?
No, we can bring Brandon on. Let me see here. Let's go in order. Jessica here. Jessica is on the next one on my, at least on my list. So let me see if I can unmute her. And then let me unmute Jessica. And Jessica, if you can see us or if you can hear us, let us know. And then the floor is going to be all yours.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. How you doing? Welcome in.
I'm doing good. Let's see. I'm looking, seeing if it will start my video.
Okay,
Clicked on
great.
start video.
I'm gonna mute and I'm gonna give you the floor and let us know what we should know about you and Cottonwood and take it from there.
Absolutely. So everybody can still hear me, right? It's all good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good deal. So it's not letting me start the video. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So you'll have to ignore my casual nature. We've got baseball and football and everything
We
else
live
going on.
casual. That's what we prefer. So you're doing just fine.
So I've got just a little bit about me. I have 3 boys and 1 girl, all ranging from 1.5 old to 12 years old. So I do a lot more than just manage title. I'm good with managing people from all different levels of development, which comes in handy when you're working in the wholesalers market. And one of our specialties with title is going to go into that wholesalers, whether it is a double close, whether it is a assignment, sometimes double assignments. We see those if you're involving a 1031 exchange. We're obviously going to be familiar with that, whether these are commercial properties, residential properties. Like I always say, you name it, we can close it. That includes trusts, or if there's estates, any sort of tax liens, foreclosures. Like I said, you name it, we can figure it out and get it closed. One of the other ones that comes to mind is wrap deals. We do those as well, and we enjoy it. We work in it a lot, and we've become really comfortable with our investors and our wholesaler clients. I have been in the industry. I always joke and say I'm finally turning 18. That's number of years I've been in title. I am 2nd generation, and I'm really super excited to continue this path and clean up Texas one deal at a time. So
It's awesome.
Beautiful. I love it. Make sure if you have any closings coming up, make sure you contact Jessica. She closed for us a transaction a couple weeks ago. Everything went very smooth. We had, and that's not the first transaction that we do with her. So we appreciate you very much. And thank you for being
Absolutely.
here. So everybody, we'll share her link. So make sure you get in touch with her. Or even if you have any questions about title, about any other process, how to read a title commitment, what you should be looking for, she can point you in the right direction.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, we're also 24/7. The only day that we are closed is Good Friday. So I am available. You don't work 8 to 5, neither do I. Sometimes I'm working on Sundays, and sometimes I'm changing over the laundry on a Tuesday. But either way, you can reach me. And for any of those questions or any directions you need on your deals.
Beautiful. I love that. Love it. Well, sounds great. Well, thank you, Jessica. I appreciate
pleasure.
you. All right. So let's see here. Next, we have
Aaron.
Aaron.
Aaron's
Oh,
like,
Aaron.
he's like, wait, you prefer casual? Hold on, I need to change my shirt.
Oh, you said that?
Yeah,
Take your suit off, sir, please.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Aaron, are you there?
What's up?
What's up, my friend?
are
Welcome
you guys?
in.
Good, thank you.
I figured
Doing
if we're going to talk in
fantastic.
if we're going to talk in the in the chat, I should have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it's all about, right? Got to enjoy life.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing, Aaron?
Good. Did you want me?
Good.
Did you want me to talk about both?
Let's do scalability, and then we're gonna bring you in later on. We can't waste this time. So just tell us about scalability, and then we'll jump right on. Watch Misha's live later on.
Got it. So I've been teaching systems to solopreneurs all the way up to $10 million companies, basically streamlining the company. We make everything work from start to finish. So scalability is actually software that we use to build what we call lead capture systems. So you can build your website with forms and surveys and everything else that actually trigger automations. And we have AI built into everything to where it can answer calls, texts, emails, Facebook messages, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, all of it, all in one place inside software. So we scalability is a software platform, and we've got full done for you to where you can literally pay us to come in and sit down with you for your company and create a system from start to finish and streamline everything for you. And then we can completely build it for you and hand it to you and teach you how to use it. Or you can just go month to month and show up and work on it yourself and just have the software and build it in. And then we have Freedom Friday calls where we give you strategy so that you can build on your own to actually work inside there. So everything we do revolves around streamlining businesses from start to finish, simplifying software, simplifying the process to where it's something that actually captures leads and converts them instead of just having pretty websites and things. So that's scalability.
I love it. If you need to get your system set up, your flow, take advantage of technology, Aaron's your man. So thank you, Aaron. And don't go too far because I'm gonna need you here. We all need you here
I'll
in a
stand
second.
right here and wait.
All right. All right. Next up, we have Mr. Brendan. Let me get over here. And then let me try to unmute you. Brendan, can you hear me? And can you?
I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Welcome.
Hey,
Welcome in, my friend. It's good to see you.
I'm mobile right now, so hey, bear with me. I took on a new role with my company, so I made it as a sales manager now. So the last couple times, I can't wait for the next in person because nothing else is gonna matter more than being there. But
Let's
it's coming up. Absolutely.
That's
That's great, man. This will work. So give us that rundown a little bit on what you guys have been up to.
Yeah. I'm out helping the ongoing training class right now out in the field. But hey, everybody, my name is Brandon Roberts. I'm in the DFW area, and I'm with Priority Roofing. We are one of the sponsors for DFW Dealmaker. We are a nationwide company. We've got 33 locations, last I counted. and there's a couple of them that still aren't listed. So we actually got more than that. We can cover you pretty much from the bottom of Texas all the way up to Michigan so far, and we'll be out of the country before it's all said and done. And owner, which is not me, he's a little younger than me, and he lives right here in the city with us. So if there's anything we can help with, we'd love to be a part of it. I know I'm one of many wonderful people that are a part of this group, and I'm just grateful for the relationships and the growth that we'll continue to have as we move forward.
Amen.
I love it.
Yes, we love having you, Brandon, and super proud of you and your growth and all of your success. So I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Super grateful to be here. I know I'm one of many, and I know we're here talking about properties, and I know every one of them that we go home to has got a roof on it. So
Yeah.
if I can ever be a player or a contestant in anything you need, like I'll give you 100% on it, and we'll do what we can to make it happen. I don't take no for an answer. So if I can work around that, we're good.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome, my friend. Any roofing needs, Brendan is your guy. Make sure you get in touch with him, and he'll get you taken care of. Appreciate you,
Thank
Brendan. Looking forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you at the in person, and we'll catch you up in person and all the good stuff, my friend.
Very much so. I'll be here watching the rest of the group, but thank y'all so much.
Awesome.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
All right. So the next one, let's see. I have one of my favorite sponsors,
Who is it?
and this is gonna be a very special one. And let's see here. She's the owner of Odyssey Soul Travel.
Ooh,
So let's bring her in. All right. Miss Geraldine, are you there? Raise your hand, Geraldine. Okay,
here.
okay.
I'm ready.
All right, babe. Tell them.
Thank you, babe.
What do we need to know about Odyssey Soul?
So as you guys know, I am that annoying squeaky wheel that you constantly see on your social media. And if you are in my network, you already know what I do. And I am pretty darn good at what I do. So I am the owner, like Felipe said, of Odyssey Soul Travel. And I help people turn their love for travel into a seamless, elevated experience. We specialize in cruises, all inclusives, and curated vacation packages. And it's not just about going online and booking, because you can go online and book it yourself, but I'm offering you an experience. I'm offering you my expertise and my dedication and my passion to make sure that all you have to do is just show up to your trip and enjoy, and I got you covered in everything else. So if you scan that QR code on the flyer that Felipe showed, I'm offering a $50 rebate for anybody on this call and for all of my deal maker family. And also, guys, everything is network marketing, right? If I do a great job, you're going to share it with your friends and family, and that's what it's all about. So refer me over to your friends, your family, coworkers, and I'll make sure to give you also a $50 gift card, because if I win, you win. So this is a family, and we're just here to support each other. And thank you so much. This is like what I do. I'm passionate about it. So let's go. Let me book you an amazing trip.
Man, I might take you up on that. Is that eligible for husbands too? I can give that 50. Okay, awesome.
Of course.
Guys, if you are doing any sort of traveling, make sure you contact her. It doesn't cost you anything extra. She can actually beat most of the deals. She has a price guarantee that she can at least match the price. What is this? She'll give you some, or she can tell you a little bit more.
Perks,
She can find the best deals out
I'll
there.
add
So
perks to your cruise credit. I'll add, give you a discount, resort credits. I mean, there's things that I can do that people in retail can't do and can't find because I'm in the inside, right? I have special rates. So yeah, come to the best, guys. There is no.
there you go. I love it. I love it. Thank you,
Thank you,
babe.
baby. Love you.
And I love you. So a little bit about us. I am the name of our company is Raw REI Network, and we do several things in this space. We've been in the market for 17 plus years. We've done quite a few transactions from, fix and flips to private lending to seller finance to notes to land. All you can think of, we've done a little bit of. And if we can be a partner to you in any way that we fit in your business, if you're looking to invest, we have a fund, raw capital fund that you can invest. If you want to buy inventory, if you need help with your fix and flip, everything you can think of. If you need guidance, if you need advice, however we fit in your business is what we are here for, and we would love to work with you. So if you need any help at all, reach out rawrei.com, and we would love to talk with you and see if we can be of assistance. Okay, that's a little bit about us. So I think that's good on the sponsors. Thank you everybody for being here. We're gonna get started with Mr. Brian Maddox. I always look forward to the segment so much because he catches us up and knows what is happening. If you are nearby, Brian, I'm gonna unmute you. Hopefully you are ready. If you don't have any clothes on, make sure you put your clothes on because I'm gonna turn your camera on now. So, Mr. Brian Maddox, let me unmute you, and you should be good to go.
All right. Let me see if I can get the video on. Thankfully, I was dressed for this session.
Some people might be disappointed, but I'm not one of them. But
It was
I'm
close,
glad.
man. It was close. If we started any earlier, it would have been an issue. So good timing.
It's good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Can't wait to hear your thoughts and what's been going with you. So the floor is all yours.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have had a roller coaster of a ride in the last month since we all met. I'm going to share my screen and go through some fun and excitement for you. So we're going to start off with the major news of the month, and that is oil. So if you didn't know, we've had this little tiff with Iran, and that has been really changing interest rates. You know, there's been some days where we've seen interest rates change almost 0.25%. Other days, rates changing almost 0.1% in a single day. That is not normal. We haven't seen volatility like that since COVID era. And so it has been, you know, you wake up and you hope that the news hasn't devastated what your plans are for the day. So oil is what we're really concentrating on. The other thing that we have to consider with oil is if oil goes up, everything else goes up. So right now, inflation is a concern. And it's funny, I'll show you a chart in here in just a second. But if we look at inflation predictions, there was thoughts kind of leading up to the Iran situation that inflation might be sparking the need to raise interest rates. So the first couple of weeks in the conflict, we actually saw some of our predictive tools suggesting that we were going to see mortgage rates, or the Fed raising short-term interest rates. If you pay attention to the Federal Reserve, they have two main mandates. One mandate is to keep unemployment low. The other mandate is to keep inflation low. They want to keep a 2% inflation. And you can see oil kind of ticking back and forth as we're talking here. But inflation, we saw inflation getting down into the 2.5% range, and we want to be at 2%. That's the Fed's goal. Well, right now we're kind of expecting 3% for this year because of this Iran conflict. The longer the conflict goes, the worse it is for future economy, and for mortgage rates is not a good thing. We want to see oil kind of come back under control. So we've got inflation and unemployment. So I always talk about unemployment. It's like going to the doctor. It's like getting your blood pressure, right? If you have high blood pressure, it's a leading indicator that there's some issues with health. Same with unemployment. So we actually, when we see inflation go up, we see people spending more money at the pump, more money at the gas station, more money on essentials. Well, if you've got to spend more money on essentials, you're going to spend less money elsewhere. And that is going to lead typically lots of people to unemployment. They need to raise unemployment, or they need to let go of staff. You can't cut your prices if the cost of good has gone up. So you need to cut costs. And the number one cost for most companies is unemployment. So we haven't seen, this is a really good chart showing this is initial jobless claims, people that are filing for unemployment for the first time. And we've seen this coming down kind of as a trend this year, which is a good thing. Now, unemployment and this number is weird now because a lot of times if I become unemployed, I may not file for unemployment. Instead, I may pick up some gig jobs. I might start driving for DoorDash or Uber. And now I'm working, so I'm not filing unemployment. Unemployment oftentimes is so low in many states that I'm better off to go find some part-time jobs, and I may not file. So this, as a chart and as an indicator, it's not as accurate as it used to be. When we look at continued jobless claims, this is people that have stayed on unemployment. And most areas of the country, you're going to be on unemployment for like 6 to 9 months. And so we've seen a healthy decline in continued unemployment claims. Last year or the beginning of this year, we saw, not beginning of this year, it was the beginning of last year into the middle of last year, we saw the Doge layoffs, a lot of government layoffs. And we saw this spike up after Trump took office. And after Doge, we saw unemployment on the rise. And then it stayed elevated for many, many months. Right now, part of why this number is lower is we are seeing people lose their unemployment benefits. So I like to look at a chart from the true unemployment. This is looking at people who want a full-time job, but they don't have one, or they're not earning a living wage, which is pegged at $26,000. So if we look at the true unemployment rate, it's somewhere in the 23% range versus the headline rate, or the rate that the government publishes, of 4.3%. There's a lot of people that are underemployed. They're working multiple part-time jobs or multiple gig jobs to try to make ends meet. So they're not going to qualify for unemployment, and they're not going to qualify as employed. That's where this true unemployment comes in. Now, if we look recently, and I could not get this chart to zoom in, so I apologize, but in December 2025, we had a 25.2% true unemployment rate. And right now it is down to 23.6%. That is healthy. We like to see that. But we want to keep an eye on unemployment, because as inflation ticks up, that's going to be one of the first places that businesses can cut its employees. So when we look at the charts, we're going to look at the UMBS 30-year chart. This is the actual coupon that trades on Wall Street for conventional mortgages. And on this chart, a higher number means cheaper interest rates. It works inversely to what the 10-year Treasury does. We'll look at that chart next. We see the start of the Iran conflict. February 27th was the best day to lock rates in the last 3 years, essentially. And then the next business day, March 2nd, is when the conflict started. And we had really bad news for a full entire month. All of March was bad news, but we bottomed out and we saw things starting to get better. This is where mortgage rates got down to into the MBS side. And we've seen things recovering a little bit. Some of these really big news headlines here, these big candlesticks, they're massive in size compared to what we saw prior to the conflict. And this is just the amount of turmoil. If you look at the top of this candlestick to the bottom, it's almost 0.5%. And that's massive change in a single day. This is when that ceasefire deadline was that Trump had announced, that if the Iran did not come to a ceasefire by 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, bad things were going to happen. And we got past that. So the next day, things got a lot better, and we want to see this chart increasing. So this is a single day where we had a tremendous uplift in mortgage rates. Rates got better, and we've been pretty flat. We're trading along this, right now, this is the 50-day moving average. We're trading right along this 50-day moving average. If we can get across that and start trading above it, we have the 100-day moving average. That's this purple line. And then if we get above the 100-day moving average, we've got some green pasture. We have an opportunity for rates to get a fair amount better. There's no resistance in rates. When we flip over to the 10-year Treasury, on this chart, higher means higher interest rates. So this is the easiest place for you to go watch and see where are mortgage rates. We're trading right now at 4.31, and the average rate today is 6.32. So we have a 2% spread between the 10-year Treasury and mortgage rates. So if you watch the 10-year Treasury and it goes up, mortgage rates are getting worse that day. But again, this last week, we've been pretty flat. We have hopefully some additional peace talks coming before the 2-week ceasefire ceases. We want to see some good news. We want to see some productive talks between Iran and the U.S. Also, Israel and Lebanon, they're having some conversations for the first time in 30 years. And that is positive news. a lot of people think that we can't see the Iran conflict get better until we see Israel and Lebanon starting to work. So they're coming to the table and having some talks, hopefully in the very short term. And that hopefully will bring some good news for everybody. This is the Fed Watch tool. So you can just Google Fed futures and you'll see the CMG Market Watch. This is predicting what the Fed is going to do. So economists, they place bets or they trade on short-term futures on what the Fed is going to do, and then they convert those bets or those trading into a percentage. So right now our current rates are between 3.5 and 3.75, and there's a 0.5% chance on April 29th that we could see a rate hike. There's no chance for a rate cut according to the Fed futures. Now, when we go forward a couple of months, this 0.5 remains, but now we're starting to see a little tiny inkling of maybe we can see a rate cut. Unemployment ticking up would force the Fed to cut interest rates. That would be a bigger focus for the Fed than inflation. So when we go out to July, there's a 9% chance of a rate cut. And then as we continue to go along, this chance for a rate cut increases, but there's not a huge opportunity this year, according to the charts, to see a rate cut. But when we start getting into next year, now we've got bigger and bigger opportunities for possible rate cut. Originally this year, the Fed thought they would cut rates about two times. And right now, again, that is not on the table. But middle of next year, there's a better chance that we're going to be cutting rates than we're going to keep rates. So not a lot of potential for rates to improve in the short term, but we've got to keep an eye on oil and this Iran situation. Mortgage News Daily, one of the best places you can go to see where mortgage rates are. This is a non-biased site. If you click this link right here, it says learn about our rate survey. What they're going to tell you is this is the average rate across America for a owner-occupied purchase with a conventional loan, 25% down payment, and a 780 credit score. So a lot of my clients don't do 25% down, but this is owner-occupied 6.3%. And you can see that it had spiked up here to almost 6.5 or a little over 6.5 during this Iran conflict. That was March 23rd. So we've seen rates pulling back a little bit. And right before the bombing of Iran, we had seen this average under 6% for the first time in 3 years. We saw 5.98. It only lasted there for a day, but this is good news. We would love to see mortgage rates get better. So I went and I have access to over 100 lenders on this tool that shops rates for me. And our cheapest rate, if you were doing an owner-occupied loan with 25% down, we're at 6.125, and that lender would be paying you a little bit of a credit by $600. So this is true owner-occupied rates as of right now. If we look at investor rates, 25% down, you're at 6.75. And again, this is shopping about 100 lenders right now. And then DSCR with a 5-year prepayment penalty, 6.375. Now that is about the same as owner-occupied average rates are in America. So DSCR loans are normally cheaper than conventional loans because we can have a prepayment penalty. All right, some other market data, and I'm trying to go quick because I know I like to talk and I like to share some good information. Housing inventory changes. This is a chart that shows America and the number of listings that changed between 2025 and 2026. The size of the bubble is the size of the metro. The color of the bubble is if we have negative inventory or positive inventory. So you can see areas like the Carolinas, up in the Northeast, we're seeing some additional inventory. Florida finally is getting reduction in inventory in many markets in Florida. It has been a really tough time in Florida the last year. Texas is pretty flat for many markets. And then there are some small markets in Texas that are seeing an increase in inventory. This is a look prior to COVID, right? So prior to COVID, we probably had the most normal market we've had for maybe 15 years since 2020. Since 2008 mortgage crisis. So this is inventory changes right before COVID to now. And a lot of the country is in the dark green, lots of inventory in Texas. Florida has lots of extra inventory. The Northeast, they can't build year round. Texas, Florida, North Carolina, they can build year round. So it's all about supply and demand. And in Texas and in Florida especially, we've had so much production of new inventory. It is sitting there. But in the Northeast, they can't build like they can in the Southeast. So they are still massively below what the inventories were prior to COVID. Inventory trends for this year, we're on the black line here. And this is a time where we normally see inventory rising. Now, we had a couple of weird years right after COVID where, people were buying all they could. Rates were in the 2s and 3s. But most pre-COVID era, we would see inventory climbing at this time. But we see a little bit more inventory climbing than we have in years past, very similar to last year. So we expect inventory to climb up through the August timeline. And then that's when we normally see inventory declining as the school summer shopping era ends. I found this article and I thought it was really interesting. This is where people moved in 2025. Between 2024 and 2025, we've got the yellow states are negative migration and the blue states are positive migration. So Texas, we had a positive migration of 2.1, and this is, I think, in thousands. Yeah, ratio is as a ratio per 1,000 residents. South Carolina, they were cracking on the production of new residents, as was Idaho. I would have never expected Idaho to be way up there in the percentage of inventory. Now it's a much smaller state, as is South Carolina. It's a very, very small state, so it doesn't take as many people moving in to see a change. If we look at the most positive inventory changes, North Carolina had 84,000 net migration. Texas was second. South Carolina was third. Now the percentage was huge, but the amount of people was actually smaller than North Carolina and Texas. So we want to be on the positive side. If you're investing in these states, you're hopefully going to see inventory move a little bit faster. You're not losing people. California, New York, they are losing a ton of people. And I guess everybody in Illinois, they moved to Idaho, maybe. Home sales in March was a little bit slow. If we look at the March sales numbers, we had a 3.6% decrease month over month, and that's a seasonal adjusted rate of 3.98 million home sales in a year. We have to go back 30 years to see inventory moving at this low of a level. The last 2 years, we were right at 4 million or 4.1 million. This is not what we want to see. A lot of people have slowed down on their searching of new homes with the uncertainty that the Iran war is bringing. Real quick announcement. I was in the Scotsman Guide. It just refreshed and I don't know why it did that. So I was number 1400, which is the top 1% of loan officers. When I look at, it was number 300 in non-QM. Of course, when I click on the tab, it's going to refresh. If you want to connect with me, if I can help you with anything, there is my QR code. And if you want to see any of this market data that I shared, please reach out to me and I'm happy to share the links and the slides that I was on. And thank you for the opportunity to present to you again today.
Man, that was fantastic. Really, really good information. Yeah, I'm glad to share some of those data. It's important. And congrats on that Scotsman Guide. That's awesome, Fred.
Yeah, thank you. There's 157,000 licensed loan officers, and I was ranked number 1400, and I was ranked I think it was like 280 as far as non-QM or DSCR loans. I was number 280 in the nation. So
that's amazing.
It's for people that support me, and I try to support you back. Let me know what I can do to help you. And again, thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I will say that I think I give 100% of your success to deal maker. I'm just joking.
First, it's all deal makers. Actually, I just learned that Charlotte is getting a deal makers in the very near future. So I hope to be a big part of deal makers with that. And if you ever need a speaker, I'm happy to come out to Texas and see how y'all are doing it out there in Texas sometime.
All right. We're going to see you next week. Yeah. Awesome, my friend. Thank you so much and congrats again.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Great to hear from you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. We're gonna start moving a little bit faster so we can get started with a keynote. But before we do, I gotta bring in the amazing Erin Janice again. Can you see my screen?
No.
You cannot.
Mm-mm.
Let's see.
Okay. Now we can see it.
Now we can see it. Okay, so we're gonna move along. This is gonna be a quick bite. This is what we call our Kingdom Edge. So we're gonna bring the amazing Aaron Jennings, and he's gonna give us a 5 minute or less principle for everybody to take on. And immediately after that, we'll bring in our keynote and we're going to dive into tonight's topic. So let me just find Aaron over here. And Aaron, you have the floor, sir.
He's muted.
I'm coming in. I think it's starting. There we go. Can you see and hear me?
No. I can hear you, but not see you.
All right. It should start here in a second. Looks like it's on my end.
Okay. Yeah, there you are.
There we go. Awesome. Well, as usual, I'm not going to share the screen or anything. I'm just going to talk because we keep it short and to the point. As you mentioned, it's the Kingdom Edge. It's how does God and business come together? So in the past, you've heard me talk about systems. You've heard me quote scripture. You've heard me talk about how God is a God of order and how we're called to build things that last. Tonight, I want to ask a different question. And the question I want to ask is, why does any of this even matter? Honestly, especially if you're here and you don't see God as part of your business, why should you care about any of this Kingdom Edge talk? Whether you realize it or not, you are building something that will outlive you. The real question is, will it have meaning or will it just have momentum? For the last 8 years, I've worked with business owners from solopreneurs to companies that have done over $10 million. Every business had anywhere from 3 to 12 different softwares, and teams didn't know what to use, when to use it, or why it mattered. So what happened was things slipped through the cracks, money was being wasted, opportunities were missed, and every single time I came in to help, there was only 3 things that we did. We removed the things that weren't needed, we simplified the things that were left, and then we built a clear step-by-step system from start to finish. Now, what it accomplished was everybody knew what was happening, how it was happening, and why it was happening. And it worked. Businesses grew, teams got aligned, revenues increased. But something I noticed was that even when everything on the outside was working and looking good, there was still something missing on the inside of the people running the business. Success proves how to grow, but it doesn't answer why does it matter. So scripture doesn't just teach us how to build, it actually teaches us why we build. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as though you're working for the Lord. Because that changes everything. Because now your business isn't just about clients, contracts, and cash flow. It actually becomes an assignment from God. Proverbs 16:3 says, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. Most people hear that and they think, great, God's going to make all my plans successful, which is not what that means. The word commit literally means to roll the weight onto something else, or to fully surrender your work to God. And the word established means to be made firm, stable, unshakable, or built to last. So the real meaning of that verse means that when you surrender your work to God, he doesn't just grow your plans. He stabilizes them, aligns them, and builds them in a way that actually stands. Not just something that works, but something that will endure. 1 Corinthians 14:40, let all things be done decently and in order. God's a God of order and systems do matter. But the deeper truth is that systems without purpose are just machines. They're just machinery, that's it. They can scale revenue, but they can't create meaning. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, it is he who gives you the power to create wealth, so that he may establish his covenant. There's the word establish again. Only this time it's talking about his covenant. God doesn't give you the power to create wealth so that you can just have a better life. He gives it so that what he started doesn't stop with you. You're not the end point. We're just a link in the chain so that something bigger can continue on. Jesus didn't preach purpose, he built structure. In Luke 10:1, it says that the Lord appointed 72 others and he sent them out ahead of him. He trained people, he delegated responsibility, and then he created something that could multiply. It wasn't just efficient, it was eternal. Jesus didn't build something that depended on his presence. He built something that could continue long after he was off of the earth physically. Today with Watch Missions Live, we take the same systems that I use in business and we've added purpose to them. If someone's called to start an orphanage, we don't just help them run the orphanage. We help them build systems and train leaders and then create structure so they can turn that one orphanage into 3, 5, or 10 orphanages. It's the same systems, but now they're established. They're not just growing, they're standing strong. If you're here and you don't think about God in your business, here's what I want you to consider. You already know how to build. You already care about growth. You already want success. But at some point, you're going to wonder, what is all this actually for? Ecclesiastes 12:13 says, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Meaning isn't something that you create. It's something that you align with. And when you align your business with God, everything changes. Your work has weight. Your systems have a direction. And your success actually has a substance. In closing, God doesn't promise to make your plans successful. He promises to make them established, but only when you're willing to surrender them first to him. So my question for you tonight is, are you building something that looks successful, or are you building something that is stable, unshakable, and established? Because success can be loud, it can grow fast, and it can impress people. But if it's not established, it's not going to last. And when you finally build something that is firm, stable, and unshakable, your business stops being something that you run, and it becomes something that outlives you. And that's the Kingdom Edge.
Drops the mic.
Round of applause.
That's
That was
amazing.
awesome, man.
Try to
Very
keep
good.
it my 5 minutes.
You got it, my friend.
Appreciate you guys giving me a few minutes.
Thank you, man. That was excellent. I appreciate you as always sharing. If you can see my screen, make sure you guys scan this code. Check out Watch Missions Live. It is a nonprofit organization that Aaron's runs full time, and they're doing amazing work, being a media outlet, sharing God's story, and empowering and equipping missionaries with all this system and knowledge that he has. So make sure you check him out, support him any way you can. And thank you again, Aaron. And I can't wait for next month so we can hear you again.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. We are getting ready for our keynote speaker that I am so excited to hear. Let me go ahead and cue him, Mr. Chris Peterson, and I'm gonna read his bio here. That's gonna very impressive individual. And let me go ahead and start giving him access, and I'm gonna read his bio and bring him on. But Chris, I am making you a presenter here in a second. And let me read his bio real quick. Chris Peterson is the founder and president of WealthBuilder1031. He is a licensed Texas attorney and owner of Peterson Law Group. Graduated from Wheaton College at the University of Texas School of Law. WealthBuilder1031 is a qualified intermediary facilitating 1031 exchanges by holding sale funds and coordinating with title companies to ensure IRS compliance. Serial entrepreneur with ventures in title, restaurant construction, real estate development, and more. Married to college sweetheart Debbie since 1996 with 3 kids. And let me see if I can bring him on. Chris, I give you presenter access. Let me know if you get the control okay.
It looks like it's working.
There we go. I see the screen. We are glad and honored to have you. I am so excited to learn from you. And I want to thank you in advance for sharing your knowledge with us. And everybody's very excited to learn and hear from you.
Well, I'm glad to be with you guys. what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about everybody's kind of two favorite subjects, taxes and math. So this hopefully this will be helpful to you as we kind of walk through the basics of how a 1031 exchange works. And I'll try to cover kind of the typical questions that people ask us, but we're also going to take a brief dive into how capital gains taxes work. So let me get started. A little bit about me. As was said, I am the owner of WealthBuilder1031. We're a nationwide qualified intermediary, which means that when somebody is going through a 1031 exchange, you have to have a QI, and that QI is going to do the tax-related paperwork for the exchange, and then is also going to hold the money in compliance with the IRS rules while that exchange is going on. But besides the 1031 exchange company, I also have a law firm in Texas, and I've been a licensed Texas attorney for the last 30 years. And I speak all over the country on 1031 exchanges, so you will often see me at events for different industry sources. In fact, next week I will be in Philadelphia for the CCIM conference. So if anybody is headed to that, you can stop in and visit with me. So every time I talk about 1031 exchanges, usually what folks tell me is they really want to defer capital gains taxes, but most of the time, if I ask them if they know how to determine capital gains, they usually are kind of unable to articulate it. And so I wanted to kind of take a brief dive into how capital gains taxes are determined so that we're all kind of on the same page and have a baseline of support. Because the whole goal of doing a 1031 exchange is to defer these capital gains taxes. So I want to know, what are we deferring? And so in order to determine our capital gains tax, we really need to know two figures. The first one is the sales price. So that one should generally be easy because when we're selling property, that's probably on the top of contract. The second thing we need to know is, what is the tax basis? So our capital gain is going to be the difference between our sales price and our tax basis. So if our sales price is $1 million and our tax basis is $600,000, then our capital gain is going to be $400,000. And then to figure out what our tax is, we're going to take that capital gain and we're going to multiply it times the applicable tax rate. And that tax rate can run from 15% all the way up to 25, but most people are in the 15% category. And so that's usually what I use for the tax rate. So the big question is, if we got to know sales price and we got to know tax basis, then what is our tax basis? And so our tax basis is always going to go up and down depending on what we do during the course of a tax year. But our basic tax basis is going to be the cost of acquisition of the property plus the cost of any improvements we make to the property minus any depreciation that we've taken on the property. So acquisition costs plus cost of improvements minus depreciation. And so with the tax basis, we're always going to have that tax basis going up and down, because think of it. Say I bought a property for $200,000 and I immediately put $50,000 into it. Now my tax basis is at $250,000. And then at the end of the year, I took a $20,000 depreciation. So now I'm at $230,000. And the next year I take it again and I'm at $210,000. And the next year I take it again and I'm at $190,000. And then that year I decide to put $100,000 into the property. And so now my tax basis is $290,000. And so our tax basis is always going up and down, but to figure out our capital gain, we're going to take our sales price and subtract it from that tax basis. So let's look at a typical real estate transaction. So we've got an investor here, John, and John's tax basis is $100,000. and John decides to sell the property later for $150,000. So he's got a $50,000 gain. And so usually you and I would say, well, John did well. He made $50,000 on this transaction. But unfortunately, John's going to go to the closing table, and the seller is going to be there, and then his buyer is going to be there. But there's going to be this invisible third party, and that is Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam is kind of funny because Uncle Sam adds no value to your transaction, but he wants to be paid, right? And so on this $50,000 of gain, John is going to pay a capital gains tax on that $50,000. And so he is going to owe Uncle Sam $7,500. Now, on the other hand, we've got another investor, and her name is Jane. And Jane is a little bit more knowledgeable than John. Jane basically has the same transaction. She's got a tax basis of 100 and is going to sell for 150. So it's the same $50,000 of gain. But Jane knows that there's this weird little provision in the tax code under section 1031, which is where we get 1031. And she can do a 1031 exchange, follow all the steps that the IRS sets out. And by doing that, she can defer paying the capital gains tax, instead reinvest all of her earnings into a new property or properties. So that's what Jane does. She takes all of the net sales proceeds from her $150,000 sale, and she, using the code provision, rolls it into new properties. And by following those code provisions, she's able to defer her capital gains taxes until sometime later. So Jane has been able to have that $7,500 that John paid to Uncle Sam. She's been able to keep it as equity in her new property. The other thing is, John has not only lost the $7,500 in equity, he's also lost the opportunity to compound that by earning the interest or the cash flow or the appreciation that $7,500 would have given. But Jane keeps all of those benefits to herself. So what we see with investors is the reason that we're doing a 1031 exchange is we're able to keep that additional equity to ourselves, pay Uncle Sam nothing, and then over time, we're increasing our rate of return, we're increasing our cash flow, we're reducing our debt service. So these are all goals that the typical real estate investor has. So we're kind of getting the best of all worlds. Now, a lot of times when I do a presentation, I use these very simple figures, mainly because it makes it easy to do math on the go. But sometimes people will say, well, Chris, what does it matter? I mean, John, he was only going to owe the IRS $7,500. Is it that big of a deal? Well, maybe not. Maybe $7,500 doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But what if instead we added a zero? So now instead of a $50,000 gain, John has a $500,000 gain. And instead of writing the check to Uncle Sam for $7,500, now we're writing the check for $75,000. Does that feel like it hits you a little bit harder, makes you kind of draw in your breath a little? Well, let's add another zero. So now we've got a $5 million gain, and the check you would write to Uncle Sam is $750,000. Well, now that's the check nobody wants to write, right? And so what we see is the more that we do this and the bigger numbers we use and the more real life it becomes, then the savings, like, we really understand those. So the other thing I want to tell you is that there's another provision of the tax code that helps out investors, because most of our investors, they don't want just the increased equity, the increased cash flow, the decrease in debt service, the increase in appreciation. What they also want is to be able to pass those things, the real estate, onto their loved ones at the time of their death. And when they do that, they want it to be as tax efficient as possible. And so one of the things that I always talk about is that you can defer your capital gains again and again and again by doing a 1031 exchange. And then we can use another provision that in the tax code called step up in tax basis in order to then wipe out all of those capital gains taxes that we have deferred through our lifetime. And so what this provision in the code says is basically, if you inherit a property from somebody, you inherit the property, but you don't inherit their tax basis. Instead, that tax basis resets to the market value on the date of their death. And so what this means is, hey, I inherit a property. My dad's tax basis may have been $100,000, but at his death, the property was worth $800,000. Well, my tax basis resets to the market value. So let me give a kind of a quick example of the difference in doing this kind of planning and thinking this way long term. Let's say that I've got a property and my tax basis in the property is $1. And the day before I die, I go to sell that property for $1,001,001. Okay. So I'm going to have $1 million of capital gain, the difference between $1,001,001 and $1, right? And so if I sell that the day before I die, I'm writing a check to Uncle Sam for $150,000. But if instead of doing that, I wait and I pass away, and that property goes to my wife or my kids or other loved ones that I have, and they inherit the property, they don't inherit my $1 tax basis. Instead, they inherit the property with the new adjusted tax basis. And so now their tax basis is $1,001,001. And so the day after I die, they run down and they sell the property for $1,001,001. Well, their capital gain is zero. $1,001,001 minus $1,001,001 is zero. And last I checked with my third grade teacher, 15% times zero is still zero. And so what we see is we're using both provisions of the code to not only defer taxes during our life, but then to wipe them out through the step up in tax basis. And so what we see with investors is they're buying property, they're depreciating it to, cover up other income that they have. The whole time they're building equity in the property. And as they look to upgrade or expand, they're changing the property using the 1031 provisions. They can repeat this over and over and over again through their life. And then they're getting this huge tax benefit at the end of their life by counting on this step up in tax basis. And so we're using all of these concepts together. So let's look at who can do a 1031 exchange and other common questions that people ask. So the first one is, who can do a 1031? Well, it's going to be anyone that files a U.S. tax return. So I don't care whether you're an individual, married couple, corporation, partnership, LLC, trust, all of them can do a 1031 exchange. It also includes foreign investors who file a U.S. tax return under an international tax identification number, an ITIN. And so if you are a foreign investor or work with foreign investors, if they have to file a U.S. tax return for their U.S. investments, they are also eligible for doing a 1031 exchange. Now, the key is that only certain property works for a 1031. And the statute says that any property that's used in a 1031 exchange, whether it's something you're selling or something you're buying, must be used for trade, business, or investment purpose. And really what that means is all property is going to be eligible to do that, except for things that we use for primarily personal use. Okay. So if it's primarily personal in use, you can't do a 1031 exchange. but basically everything else is going to qualify. So examples of things that might be used for personal use: your home, your personal home, you go to sell that, you're not going to be able to do a 1031 exchange. Now, I've got some good news is if you sell your personal home, there's another provision of the tax code under section 121. And what it says is if you sell your personal home and you've lived in it for 2 of the last 5 calendar years, that if there's a capital gain on the sale of your home, if you're single, you can keep up to $250,000 of that gain. If you're married, you can keep up to $500,000 of that gain, and you can do that tax-free. You don't even have to buy other property. And so because that's tax-free and not tax-deferred, that's a better deal when we sell our personal home than the 1031. But there's a lot of examples that are less obvious. So it really kind of hinges on this question of what is primarily personal use. So let's talk about 3 situations that we often see. The first one is an Airbnb property. So you've got an Airbnb property, you use it occasionally, the rest of the time you try to rent it out. Is it primarily personal use, or is it trade, business, or investment? Well, the answer is it depends on how often you use it. The IRS says if you use it for 14 calendar days or less, the personal use is incidental. And so it's still considered trade, business, or investment. If you use it 15 calendar days or more, it's considered to be for primarily personal use. Here's another example. Let's say that I have a 4-plex and I live in one of the units and I rent 3 of the units out. How does it qualify? Personal or trade, business, or investment? Well, the answer is actually both. So when I go to sell the 4-plex, I can take 25% of the sales proceeds from that 4-plex and use my 121 exemption and put some cash in my pocket as my home. The other 75% of the proceeds, I can 1031 exchange because it's being used for trade, business, or investment purposes. We're in Texas, and so a common one we have down here is somebody that owns a ranch. So let's say that I own a 100-acre ranch and I live on the ranch. Well, because I live on the ranch, does that make it primarily personal use? Well, the answer again is it's both. And so what I can do is I can sell the house and 1 acre and use my 121 exemption and keep $250,000 or $500,000 tax-free. But for the rest of the 99 acres, I can actually 1031 exchange that into my next investment property. And so again, we're using these provisions of the tax code together to accomplish the most tax efficient structure for us. The key thing with property is not only does it have to be for trade, business, or investment use to be 1031 eligible, it must also be like kind. And this is probably the most misunderstood part of the 1031 exchange, because a lot of folks will call us and they think what they're buying and what they're selling has to be exactly alike. So, hey, I'm selling a 4-plex in Dallas and I got to buy a 4-plex in Dallas in exchange. But that's not the way it works. Now, the IRS is not really that helpful because their definition of like-kind property is, quite frankly, legal gobbledygook, right? And their definition is that like-kind property is property of the same nature, character, or class, quality or grade doesn't matter. Well, let's use the Chris Peterson definition. All real estate is like-kind to all other real estate, okay? All real estate is like-kind to all other real estate. So what does that mean in practice? I have a single family rental. I can 1031 exchange it into a 4-plex. I can sell the 4-plex. I can 1031 exchange it into an apartment complex. I sell the apartments. I can 1031 exchange it into undeveloped land. I can sell the land. I can 1031 exchange it into an office building. I can sell the office building and I can 1031 exchange it into an industrial property. All of those work because all real estate is like kind to all other real estate. That's also going to include forms of real estate that you and I don't traditionally think of as being real estate. So I actually can sell the industrial property and I can reinvest the proceeds into oil and gas interests or commercial water rights, because at their heart, those are interests in real estate. I can also invest in some passive investment vehicles. There are two of them that are 1031 exchange eligible. One of them is tenant in common property. So that's property that up to 35 owners own together. We all own different percentages. Somebody's going to manage that property for us, and we each get a rent check for our percentage of the rent. And then if the property sells, we're going to get our percentage of the sales price. And every year we're going to get the depreciation on the property as well. And this is commonly used, like just as an example, Walgreens, CVS, Dollar General, Dollar Trees. These are all things that are typically tenants in common. And what they typically would have is a triple net lease, where basically the tenant is going to not only pay rent, but pay all the expenses that go along with the property, including property taxes and insurance. Another option is a Delaware statutory trust. And so we call these DSTs. DSTs are a sponsored managed real estate portfolio. They work exactly like a real estate investment trust or a REIT. And basically you're a silent investor in this portfolio of real estate, and you're usually going to get a quarterly check representing your percentage of the rent. And then same thing, if the properties sell, you get your percentage of the sales price, and you're going to get your percentage of the depreciation. So just giving you an idea that like kind has a broad category of properties that we can buy and sell out of. The other thing is we're not limited by geography. And so Texas real estate is like kind of New York real estate, is like kind of Florida real estate, is like kind of California real estate. And so you really have very broad options, and everything counts as like kind as long as it's used for trade, business, or investment purposes. So let me kind of walk through the typical steps of the 1031 exchange, and then we'll kind of slide back into some more advanced concepts with it. So a lot of folks will tell me, well, I'm not sure if I want to do a 1031 exchange. I hear they're super complicated. And what I always tell people is it's almost like going through a normal transaction. We're really only adding two new things to it. And so what's going to happen in a 1031 exchange is the investor and the buyer are going to enter into a sales contract. And what we're going to ask you to do when you enter into that sales contract is the two additional things that you don't normally do. One is we're going to put a cooperation clause in that contract. And what the cooperation clause says is, hey, I might be doing a 1031 exchange. You're on the other side of the table for me. You're going to help me out by signing documents that facilitate my 1031 exchange, but it's not going to cost you anything extra, and you're not going to have any liability for signing those documents. So pretty simple. The other thing that we want to do is we want to make sure and hire our qualified intermediary before closing. So that's what our company does. But basically the QI, the qualified intermediary, is going to do the tax related paperwork for the exchange and then going to hold money between closings. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put that cooperation clause in the contract, hire a wealth builder, and then our transaction is going to proceed pretty normally. And so, you're going to receipt the contract at the title company, get the commitment. You're going to do surveys, inspections of the property. You may do some repairs and renegotiation, and then you're going to set closing. And at closing, it's going to be just like normal. The title company or closing attorney is going to have some documents for you to sign. There's going to be some additional 1031 exchange documents from the qualified intermediary. Then when the closing happens, instead of the investor getting a check or getting a wire, instead the title company or closing attorney is going to wire those funds directly to Wealth Builder or another QI. And we're going to hold those funds on your behalf in a segregated escrow account. And this is all according to the IRS's rules. And then we're going to talk about this later in more detail, but there's kind of two timelines to think about. The first is we have 180 days to close and fund on all of our property purchases. But in the first 45 of those days, we're going to identify our potential replacement properties. So 45 days, we've got to identify, which means telling the QI, these are properties I might buy. Within 180 days, we're going to close and fund on the purchase of the replacement properties. And so we're going to kind of repeat the process. You're going to sign a contract for buying those properties. We're going to receipt it at the title company. We're going to make sure the cooperation clause is in there. We're going to do our surveys, inspections, repairs, and renegotiation. We're going to set closing. And at that closing, we're going to have the title company documents, but we're also going to have some QI documents. And at closing, the QI is going to deliver the 1031 funds from the escrow account directly to the closer, just like a lender does. And at that point, the exchange is over. So once we've bought everything, the exchange is over. And then the only thing left to do is tell the IRS what we did. And so there is a one-page form that goes on the back of the next tax return, and it takes information off the two closing statements, and that gets attached to the tax return, and then the entire 1031 process is over. So it's fairly straightforward, and it's not really that more complicated than the typical closing transaction. So again, the thing you got to be aware of is there are these time limits. You have 45 days of identification period from the date that you close and fund on your sale. And in those 45 days, you're going to have to tell the QI what it is that you might buy. And those purchases have to be made within that 180-day time period. And the key to remember is that the 45 days is the first 45 days of the 180 days. So the time periods run together. They're not stacked on top of each other. The other thing we have to remember is that there are no extensions of these deadlines. There's not even a way to request an extension. And so these are hard deadlines. IRS doesn't care what's going on in your life. They're not willing to help you out in any way in this area. And the deadlines are calendar day deadlines. So if your deadline is midnight on Sunday, it doesn't roll over to Monday to give you a little bit of extra time. So you got to make sure the deadlines are met. Probably the other question that I get most often is, well, what does property identification mean, right? So I'm worried that I won't buy something and I'll screw up my 1031. So I want to give you a big old long list of all the potential properties that we might buy. Well, there are limits on how many properties we can identify. And so the IRS gives us 3 rules for property identification. It's not possible to meet all 3 rules. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go under one of the 3 rules. And so what this looks like in practice is the QI is going to send a form to you. And when you get that form, it's going to have a whole bunch of blanks on it. And in those blanks, what you're going to do is identify property by listing its address, by listing its legal description, or by listing its property identification number with the appraisal district. So any of those are valid property identifiers. And then that document, that form, has to be signed and it has to be sent back to the QI. And so, like in our office, there's some of these companies are pretty old school still. We use DocuSign, so it's pretty easy because clients just sign it electronically and send it back in. And we just have to have it by midnight of the 45th day. Now, you can amend that list, but you have to amend it by midnight of the 45th day. So really, you got to kind of be working towards your eventual closing the whole time that you're involved in a 1031 exchange. But let's look at the 3 rules about how many we can list. So the first one is called the 3 property rule. And so this one is really easy because for every property that we sell, we can list up to 3 properties, and we don't care what the value is as it relates to what we sold. So if I sold a $500,000 property, I could list 3 $10 million properties, and that would be a valid property identification. And then what I need to do is close on at least one of those properties that's on the list. The second rule is also easy. It's the 200% rule. So what this one says is, hey, my list can contain more than 3 properties, but the aggregate value of what I list has to be less than double what I sold. So if I sold $1 million property, I could list 50 properties as long as their aggregate value is less than $2 million, right? So again, this one's pretty easy because the math is super simple. The third one's a little bit more complex. So what this one says is I can list more than 3 properties and I can exceed double the value in aggregate, but I have to acquire 95% of the aggregate value of what I listed. And so basically the IRS doesn't round up, so you've got to hit 95% on the nose. And so what this really means is pretty much everything you're going to list, you're going to end up buying because it's hard to get to 95% otherwise. So most of our clients stick to either the 3 property rule or the 200% rule just because it's easier. Probably the next big question I get is, well, what should I be looking for in a QI? And the IRS says that if you're doing a 1031 exchange, an independent qualified intermediary is needed. And so what that means is that your insurance agent, your realtor, your attorney, your CPA, those folks are not qualified to be your intermediary because they're not independent. They already work for you or have worked for you within the last 2 years. They're actually an agent, not an intermediary. Other than that, the feds did not give us any form of licensing or regulation. To be honest with you, I really wish they would have a federal license for this. So what they did is they kicked licensing and regulation down to the states. And guess what? Of the 50 states, only 8 of them have created licensing or regulatory frameworks. And so what this means is that in 42 of the states, basically you can be 18 years old and breathing and be a qualified intermediary. And this ought to scare you to death because at the end of the day, we're asking this living, breathing 18-year-old to get our tax paperwork right and to hold our money and have it show up to closing, right? So because it's scary in this industry, what we need to do is we need to look for 6 things. The first thing is we want people to be under licensing and regulation in this area. And so look for a QI that does nationwide service, because if they can practice in those 8 regulated states, then you've got more built-in protection. The second thing is we want them to have malpractice insurance of at least $1 million. $1 million is the most stringent requirement among the regulated states. So make sure that your QI has at least $1 million of E&O coverage. We also want them to have at least $1 million fidelity bond. A fidelity bond is expensive. And basically what it does is it puts company resources at risk if one of their staff members steals. And so you want to have $1 million fidelity bond. Again, that's the most stringent requirement in the US. Then we're concerned about how our QI holds the funds. So the first three are really about, hey, has the QI really done their homework, and are they using the safest approach in how they do business? The second is, are they using the safest approach in how they hold our money? And so what you want your QI to use is segregated escrow accounts. One account for each client for each transaction. And you don't want any 1031 monies commingled with another client's 1031 monies. And you definitely don't want them commingled with any of the QI's money. If you want to hear some interesting QI stories, I could share them with you at a different time, but they almost all involve QI commingling money with their own operating funds and then overspending their operating funds and effectively stealing from their clients. So make sure that you're using segregated escrow accounts. Also, we want those accounts to be held under the client's tax identification number, not the QI's. So if the QI has a liability event, they get sued or they go into bankruptcy, we don't want any of the funds to be at risk by being attached to the QI's tax ID number. We want them all to be in the client's tax ID number so that closings can still occur. And then the last thing is, most people don't realize this, but your checking account is insured by the FDIC for $250,000. That's it. Well, most QIs, their accounts are insured for $250,000, and that's it. So that's a little scary if you got way more than that sitting with the QI. So like our company, we have FDIC insured accounts. Each one of those accounts is insured up to $240 million. So you want to make sure that your QI is thinking about how they're handling your money. Now, a couple more technical things. Do I need to reinvest everything? So all of my net sales proceeds from this property I sold, do I need to reinvest it in my new replacement properties? If you want a full deferral of capital gains taxes, the answer is yes. But you can do a partial 1031 exchange. So let's say that I sold a property for $600,000, but I needed $50,000 to pay for my kids' college tuition. Well, from the sale, I can pull out the $50,000 I need, but I'm going to pay capital gains taxes on that. But that still allows me to roll over the other $550,000 and get the tax deferral on those funds. So how much do we need to spend on our replacement property? Well, the idea is that it would fully replace the value. So if we want to get a full deferral of our taxes, we've got to buy replacement properties that are equal and greater or greater in value than what we sold. So if I sold $500,000 property, I need to buy one or more properties to get to at least $500,000. Now I could buy a whole bunch more and I could get mortgages on top of them, but I at least have to hit that $500,000 value in order to get a full tax deferral. That's sort of like pulling cash out. If I end up buying something that is less value, I can still get a partial deferral. So that money that I have left over because I spent less than what I sold, I'll just pay taxes on that. So we're coming to the end. So this is really kind of the last area that I want to cover. And that is whenever we talk about 1031 exchanges, we tend to think of them as being one thing, but there's actually 4 different kinds of exchanges. And the way I want you to think of these is think of this as the investor toolbox. And so we've got in our toolbox, we've got a tool for every job. And so we've got a hammer, a screwdriver, a wrench, and a pair of pliers. And so we're going to use the appropriate tool for the appropriate situation. So our four investors inside of our four tools inside of our investor toolbox are simultaneous exchange, deferred exchange, improvement exchange, and reverse exchange. So a simultaneous exchange, these don't happen very often, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to close everything at the same time. So everything that we're selling and everything that we're buying, we're going to close at the same time. Now, the most common use of this one is when two investors swap properties with each other. So these don't happen very much, but whenever we do them, it's almost invariably two investors switching with each other. The second one is the deferred exchange. So this is the most used tool. So 94% of all exchanges nationwide are deferred exchanges. And so this is the one that we typically think of. Hey, I'm going to sell a property. I don't really know what I want to buy yet. So I'm going to sell. Within 45 days, I'm going to identify my potential purchases. And within 180 days, I'm going to close on all of those. And between those closings, the QI is not only going to do the tax paperwork, but is also going to hold my money, right? The third tool is an improvement exchange. And so with an improvement exchange, what we're going to do is we're going to sell something, and we're going to use that money not only to acquire new property, but also to improve that new property. So this is actually my favorite one to do for clients, and I think it holds the most value for investors. And so this one is a little bit wonky because the QI is going to not only do the tax paperwork and not only hold the 1031 funds, but is also going to temporarily hold title to the property while the 1031 funds are used to improve it. So here's what this looks like. We go to sell the property, funds come to the QI. The client identifies the property they want to buy and what improvements they want to make to it. Using part of the 1031 funds, we close on that property and we close it in the name of an LLC that is going to be temporarily owned by the QI. And so we're going to hold title to that property through that LLC. And then the client is going to handle the property management and the construction. And so they can hire a general contractor or they can GC it themselves and we can pay the subs. But what we're going to do is they're going to do the construction and they're going to give us invoices. And when the leftover 1031 funds, we're going to pay those invoices. And when we get to 180 days, the goal would be to have used all of the 1031 funds towards the property and the improvements. If there is any leftover 1031 funds on day 180, what we're going to do is give those funds back to the investor and they'll pay taxes on them. And then we're going to transfer the property back over to the investor. So it still is working the same because they're selling something and they're getting the new and improved property in exchange for it. The fourth one is also kind of interesting because it's the reverse exchange. And so typically what we're doing is we're selling something and then we're buying second. In this, we're going to do it backwards. So we're going to buy first and then we're going to sell second. This is often used in hot markets where our clients find a property that they love, but they don't have anything ready to close on the sale. And the seller of the property that they love and want to buy is unwilling to do a contingency or otherwise wait. And so what we need to do is we got to acquire the replacement property first, and then sell the what's called the relinquished property. And so again, the QI is going to take on these three roles: tax paperwork, holding money, and also temporarily holding title. And so what's going to happen is, using an LLC that's owned initially by the QI, the LLC is going to acquire the property, which means that the client is going to have to either loan the LLC funds or get a lender to loan the LLC funds. And then at the 45-day deadline, the investor is going to identify what properties they want to sell. And within 180 days, as those properties sell, the money's going to come to the QI. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pay back the investor for whatever cash they put into the property purchase. And then if there's still leftover funds, if there's a mortgage, we're going to pay down or pay off that mortgage. And so again, at the end, it's the same thing, even though we're doing it backwards. The client is selling something and getting the new property in exchange for it. Okay, so the key thing I want you to remember, and this is the most important thing that you can take from this presentation, is that once you close, it's too late to do a 1031 exchange. So you have to have your QI in place before the first closing occurs. And it doesn't matter if it's a reverse exchange and the first closing is buying property, or if it's a typical deferred exchange where the first closing is selling property. You have to have your QI in place, and the paperwork has to be signed either before or at that first closing. And if you don't do that, then you've missed out on the opportunity forever. Okay. And so make sure you put cooperation clauses in your contracts. I've got a couple of examples here of cooperation clauses. Those are also on our website, and those are also available through this presentation. If I'm going to send this presentation over, and you guys can share the PowerPoint slides, and so you can kind of take a look at it through that. This is our quick Google review. So if you felt like the presentation was helpful to you, give us a quick review and leave some nice comments and 5-star rating. If you didn't like the presentation, just pretend like I didn't ask. Okay.
Love that.
And then the last thing is, this is our contact information. And so our main office is in College Station, Texas. And then we also have an office in Dallas, Texas. Everybody always asks me, why is your corporate office in College Station? And the answer is that I'm from Bryan College Station. So I grew up here. My dad is a professor at A&M. And so that's why.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. That was a wealth of information. Do you have time for maybe some Q&A if anybody in the audience has some questions?
Happy to
great.
do it. Now, was my face up on the screen at all? Was the camera working?
Your video was off, unfortunately. We could definitely see the slide. Oh, there you go. There you are.
Sorry, I
Now we can
started
see you.
sharing my screen, and the only thing I could see was my slides, so I didn't realize.
Now we can see you. That's great. But no worries. We got the meat and potatoes of the presentation, which was very helpful. Great stuff. And I actually started writing down some questions that I had, and you actually answered them towards the end. I have one question, and then there's a question on the chat as well.
Okay.
I've heard conflicting answers on this question. Is the LTV ratio of the property that you are buying and selling, if there is debt associated to the property? I've heard that the LTV ratio needs to match. Is that true, or can you kind of expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, so that's sort of true. So when we're buying a replacement property, let's just use an example to make it easy. Let's say that I'm selling a $500,000 property, and I have a $100,000 mortgage on it, and I've got $400,000 of equity. Well, what I'm going to need to do is I can buy the new property. I'm going to buy a property with at least $500,000 of value. So $500,000 is the floor, but I could buy a $10 million property. doesn't matter. So I'm replacing the full value of the property. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the equity in the property. And so the way I'm going to replace the equity is I'm going to take all of my net sales proceeds and I'm going to roll them over into the new property, right? So I'm fully replacing that 400,000 of equity. Well, now I have to replace that 100,000 of debt. And so I can do that in one of three ways. Number one, I can take out a mortgage, right? And so that's a really easy debt replacement. The second thing I could do is I actually could bring cash to the table and I could replace the debt by putting more cash into the deal. The third is I could have the seller finance it for me, right? So that last little piece. So the debt technically has to be replaced, but there's more options to replace the debt than just getting like our traditional lender to necessarily do it. So you do have some more options. And if you bring more cash to the table, of course, your loan to value ratio is 0, right? So there's no loan. So it's no 0, but you've effectively replaced the debt by bringing that cash to the table. So technically you're replacing the debt, but it doesn't necessarily have to be replaced by new debt through a traditional lender.
Got it. Thank you. Another quick question we had on the chat was when you were covering the initial slide on the establishing the tax basis, we had a question on how do you determine the tax rate? Is it going to be the taxable income for that year, or is it a different rate that you're calculating?
Yeah. So it's based on the capital gains tax rate. So that's not the same as our income tax rate. So there's a separate schedule of capital gains taxes. And it really starts at 15% and goes all the way up to 25%. It's based on adjusted gross income. And so really to get past the 15% level, you're going to have adjusted gross income of like more than $440,000, which is why that most people, especially most real estate folks, because they have depreciation and other expenses, they usually don't have adjusted gross income that exceeds, that to get them into the 18% tier or the 25% tier. So that's why I say pretty much everybody we deal with, even if it's really big transactions, we're usually talking about 15%.
Got it. Very helpful. And then final question before I let you go. On a fee schedule basis for your services in the QI, is it, and we don't have to get into a specific amount, but is it a specific flat rate, or is it an amount based on the sales price, or is it an amount based on the capital gains that's being transferred over? How is that kind of calculated so we kind of have an idea of?
Brother, I'll give you the exact price. You can write this down and put it in the bank, okay? So for a regular deferred exchange, if we're going to sell one property and buy one replacement property in exchange for it, we charge $1,000 for doing that. Okay. And the way that fee is paid, which is different for our company than every other company that I know of. Well, I guess before I say that, let me tell you that QI fees typically are shown on the closing statement. So like our company, we don't charge anybody anything unless it closes. So if folks have questions, they can call us, contact us, because we're not going to send you a surprise bill. Okay. But in that typical deferred exchange, the way we bill is we put $750 on the closing statement when you sell, and we put $250 on the closing statement when you buy. So we have some investors that aren't sure whether they're going to cash out on the particular property, or maybe they're going to try and find some stuff. And so a lot of times our clients will want to keep their powder dry by keeping their options open for another 45 days past closing as they continue to look. And so we charge that $750 on the sale. And then if they end up not making the purchase, we don't charge them that last $250. And so usually that's kind of helpful to take a little of the sting out if something doesn't work out. On improvement exchanges and reverse exchanges, those are more complicated transactions because we're setting up the temporary title holder LLC, and you can see that we're involved in more stages. I mean, there's just more work to it. And so on those transactions, sometimes it depends on what we're required to do, but typically our improvement and reverse exchanges are 6,500.
6,500. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And those are billed a little bit differently because our work is really front loaded on those. And so those we charge the entire fee at the first closing, whatever the first closing is.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I'm not saying those are always going to be our fees, but,
Right. Yeah.
but those have been our fees for.
Yeah. I
you know,
think it's very helpful to at least kind of know the range
Yeah.
of what they're being expected.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I mean, companies are kind of all over the board. Most of the people that we compete with are kind of the big national players. And so all of our fees are pretty close to each other.
Competitive. Yeah. Okay.
But I will say there's a lot of abuse in the industry. And so like I had a guy call me the other day like 6 months
Yeah.
ago. And he was doing a closing in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. And there's an attorney in Oklahoma that does QI work on the side, does 1031 exchanges on the side. And his fee was going to be a percentage of the sales price. And so they called and were like, hey, we're just kind of checking around. Somebody else had used you for some other transactions. Let me see, what you would charge. I told them $1,000. They about fell over because this guy was going to charge him 24 grand. And
Wow.
So it was a huge.
Okay, like you said, the fees are not regulated at all.
They're not, so it's not like title insurance where every title company charges the same price for your title insurance. It is the Wild West in our industry. So if somebody says they'll charge you a percentage of the sales price, you probably want to keep making a few calls.
Yeah, there you go. But awesome. Well, my friend, this was fantastic. I appreciate you spending your evening with us. It was a wealth of information. We'll definitely share the recording, especially with the members that were unable to attend live. So I expect to hear back from them if they have any questions or anything like that. But I just want to thank you for being on the call and sharing a little bit with us. It was very, very helpful. So thank you, my friend.
Yeah. Thanks so much. And I'm going to send you the PowerPoint slides so that you can share those with others if you'd like to too.
Perfect. I
All right.
sure will.
Thank
you so much. We'll be in touch. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. All right, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. We are running out of time. I can't believe I'm mad at myself. We're going to wrap this up in 5 minutes. We're going to fly through it and we'll wrap it up. So thank you everybody for hanging in there. What'd you think of that? Was that helpful? Did you already know everything that I covered? Give me some feedback. Let me know if we're on the right track. I just think it's such an important tool and it could be very, very powerful if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So let me know how that went.
Very helpful. 1031s for the win.
Okay, awesome. So let me pull up my. Okay, and like I said, we're just gonna fly through this thing here since it's past 8. We already went over Q&A. Let's go ahead and skip to the end, and let's go ahead and give some prizes because I know
It's our favorite part.
it's everybody's favorite part. So if you want to win, today we're only giving away 2 prizes, and we're gonna make it quick. Let me put some sound so we can get some energy here. Because Big Tex is not here, so we gotta use a playlist instead because he can't do his magic.
That's funny.
But you see the QR code on the screen? We are going to give away a $25 Amazon gift card that whoever wins, I will pay.
Okay,
Hold on.
now we can hear you.
Okay, that was too much energy.
Wow, we're going to.
So anyway, you scan the QR code. This is gonna go fast.
Some days I'm strong, some days I'm unsure. Some days you're laying on me. We trade the way we share love. That's what love should be. You celebrate not changing my goals, my becoming. I don't fear your evolution. There's no race for runners. You don't need to fix my feelings. I don't need to save your soul. We just stay near. Let
Maybe 10 more seconds.
each other grow. I'm growing with you, into you. Still my own, and it's still standing true. We don't shrink, we don't outgrow. We rise together, slow by slow. I'm growing with you.
Just about enough.
Side by side. So open heart. Don't need super high. If I change my dreams tomorrow, you won't ask me who I was. If your path.
So let me pause because the music might be too much. So first one is going to be $25 gift card. Then let's get ready. And who's going to be the lucky winner? Drum rolls, babe. Give me some drum rolls. Jasmine. Jasmine, congratulations. Your life has changed. You now have $25 richer, which is amazing. And then we're going to spin again for a $50 Amazon gift card. And the winner is going to be Mr. John Torres. Congratulations, sir. You are also $50 richer. So I'll get a hold of everybody, and I'll make sure you get that code. And congratulations. And let's just see here. We have our in-person live event replay up on the website. I'm going to share the link, but make sure you check that out. It was a powerful event. It was amazing. If you missed it, make sure you catch the replay, and make sure you don't miss the next one. Tonight's virtual replay will be up this week, and I will share via email to everybody, so you can revisit if you want to, or you can get the link for the slideshow presentation. This is exciting. So next month, May 21st, for our next virtual event, we are having this legend here. This gentleman is amazing. His name is Sam Weger. He is an authority in the co-living space. He's going to be sharing with us the co-living method, how you can do pad splits, it's a very hot strategy now. We have a lot of people moving from short-term rentals, Airbnbs, to doing co-living. It can be extremely profitable if you are doing it correctly. And there's some nuances that you have to navigate on the how many tenants you can have, that sort of thing. So he's going to be sharing with us a ton of good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Make sure you don't miss it. It's going to be the third Thursday, May 21st, completely free, virtual again. So tune in for that. We have a real raw deal drop that I mentioned. Again, our next in-person event in downtown McKinney at the Augustus. We have two amazing gentlemen. We have Scott Horn. He is an attorney. He has done over 10,000 transactions. He is an authority on the seller finance space. He's got his owner finance network. He provides all sorts of services. He's going to be doing a segment called Ask the Title Attorney. So bring all your questions live. He's going to be answering them on stage. And then we have a good friend of mine, Major Hillard, who is flying in from Tampa Bay, Florida. He's a mobile home park developer and investor. He's a fund manager as well. And he's going to be showing some of the projects, how he breaks down mobile home park deals. So it's going to be amazing. June 4 in McKinney. Make sure you sign up for that and join us live. Okay, that's about it, guys. It's almost 8:08. We are a little bit past our deadline, so I'm gonna rush through this here. I'll make sure I'll make these announcements next month. So make sure you come back, and we'll dive in a little bit more. Okay. We also, last thing, we have finished our 2027 schedule. So we have the dates. We already have the venue secure for our in-person. So that is on the website. And then our virtual that you are seeing right now that we'll be doing monthly, we are actually going to be changing into a quarterly format for next year. So you won't be seeing us every month virtually in 2027, but we're going to do it in a quarterly format. And then all these dates are on the website that you can see. Make sure you save them so you can join us on those dates. Okay. But that's it. I'm sorry we went a little bit longer. I want to thank you for being on this call. I hope you got some good value out of it. I want to thank Geraldine for being on the call as well and helping me here. And next month, Big Tex is going to be seeing us. And any parting words for the audience, babe?
Yeah, no, I want to thank you for doing everything that you do and putting this amazing stuff together for people. And like you said, we don't gain anything from it, but we just do it because we want to bring value to not just our Dealmaker DFW family, but to everybody who has an interest in all sorts of business avenues in real estate. And these are business principles, right, that we can take into any business. So thank you, babe. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. And thank you. Just this was good. And we'll see you at the live one. So
Absolutely. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you again. We love you all. God bless you all. I pray that you got something out of this, that you might meet somebody new. You might learn something that you can keep implementing in your life, in your business, to your clients, to everybody right away. And you guys have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
bye.